to me, that was disqualifying. My heart broke in that time seeing folks ransacking the Capitol. And since then, the president has not accepted responsibility. I hold the seat that was held by Gerald Ford for 25 years before he was elevated to the White House. He pardoned Richard Nixon, but that was after Richard Nixon resigned and was held accountable for his actions. And here, there must be accountability.
Are you disappointed, Congressman, that more of your fellow Republicans in the House didn't vote yes in favor of impeachment?
I respect the way that a lot of my colleagues came to their decision.
Ellen? Ellen?
Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, hi. I don't think we've met before.
Well, we have across the desk because you were you're a library user, and I've waited on you many times in the library, but
now that I hear the voice, I absolutely do know who you are.
anyway, good. I'm glad I got into the meeting okay. I was afraid I was going to be late, but I'm not.
Oh, awesome. So the big plans are all now for retirement are put aside because of COVID, huh?
Well, no, I mean, the retirement isn't affected. I mean, I did plan to retire about now some time ago. So nothing's changed or delayed. It's just going to be a little trickier for everyone. Karen will be acting director after I leave, and we'll be hiring a permanent director, but I'm available, and I've made that known, not only to help Karen, but to help with a library move or whatever else comes up on a volunteer basis. So we'll see. I feel go ahead.
Oh, it is a tricky time, I was going to say, because the obviously the COVID issue, but also the library, the renovation starting obviously in August, and then a new person coming in. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It is going to be a lot for everyone, and I realize that. Yeah.
Do we have a location for the? Is there a temporary facility planned?
Not a definite location. We're looking at different things, different alternatives still, and maybe a combination of alternatives. We'll work it out.
Yeah.
So am I the first? Go ahead. Am I the first one here? Or
yeah. I had a little problem. I sent out a link that for some reason just did not work earlier. And it was discovered when somebody tried to register, and I was like, oh no. And so I've now gone and reposted the correct link. I think maybe it was a copy paste error. I don't know. So I'm slightly concerned about attendance. We had 66 people last night. It registered, about half who showed up. So
okay, what was last night?
Oh, last night we were talking about the Washington Adventist Hospital site.
Oh, okay.
The Adventist director, the director of the university, and then the financial director for Adventist was there, taking questions from the community, like what's the future of it? Everybody has their own stamp that they want to put on the Adventist. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be mixed use, as we would imagine, but he guaranteed no box stores, so that's
good. That's important.
It is. So what do you think of the bibliotech guy?
Oh, he was very nice. I mean, we just did a little research, and in meeting with him, we discovered that Jarrett had met with him also, or perhaps you did. Yeah, he was nice. He gave us a lot of information. He sent us more information, and he said he was going to be at this meeting tonight. I don't know, but he said that he was invited by Jarrett to attend. So I assume he'll be here. If not, we have a lot of information from him, including some prices. So that's good.
Yeah, the prices on the remote lockers are pretty comparable to their parcel version for what do you call it, for like a posh apartment buildings, for example. They have a lot of those, or business. Yeah, they put them in the lobbies for Amazon package delivery, that kind of thing.
Sure.
the smaller ones run around 7,000. The larger ones can go up to 15. So it's completely comparable price wise.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good to know. You probably know more about them than I do. I know more that I know what he explained to us, and I've looked at the literature, but and it's a good thing.
I like it. There are, and I don't know if Bibliotech has it, but there are outside versions, like completely ones that can stay outside. I don't think Bibliotech sells those versions.
He mentioned, well, he was specifically referred to inside versions. I don't know if they sell them or not. And there are other vendors too. There's at least one other which we weren't able to contact, but
Sure. Well, there's the idea that I think was tossed around was that there would be in the entryway to the community center from the driveway, there could be, or in the on the other side coming in from like the elementary school side, there could be a unit there. And then the other idea was at the rec center,
yeah.
like a satellite, a smaller one, but a satellite one inside the entryway there. And then the question then is what to do about Ward 5. And even for Ward 6, that's still not all that accessible for a lot of people. So
Right.
it's where to put it. I mean, obviously, eventually, somewhere on the Adventist campus would be perfect. And I'm sure at some point when they finally get that act together and on the road.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I understand.
Mhm. There was also a thought to do some of the smaller units wouldn't be a bad idea either. At in downtown Tacoma,
Mhm.
but it would have to be inside somewhere, like in that post office vestibule or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm not sure where it would go, quite frankly, but
right, right. Yeah, we're doing well, I guess there's gonna be a discussion about, wireless and so forth and, outside of the library. I don't know if you got the information that,
I did.
no, well, we also found out that the library lot is gonna be pretty much a construction site. Because we were looking at it for possibility of putting a portable classroom there for some level of continuing service or something, but I don't. So we had them send us a whole illustration and diagram of where everything would take place. There's very little room for anything other than construction equipment. That's going to be a tough one
I
for
think it's
especially for people who would want to access it from their vehicles, which is the case with a lot of the Montgomery County libraries. I don't know how that would work, but we'll see.
I think it's because they have to tear up the parking lot for the drainage issue, right?
Well, and there's just a lot of construction equipment there,
Gotcha.
so we'll see.
That makes sense too.
I see one person. I see Mark Fisher.
Ah.
Can you hear us, Mark?
You see
And
Mark? Oh, Family Fisher. Gotcha. And Lars is here.
okay, good. And Kay might be Karen. I don't know. I saw Kay. Lars is here. Great. Kay might be Karen.
Hello, Karen. Hey, Lars.
Hi, Karen.
There we go.
So full disclosure, I may have screwed up the link for the community meeting today. So I've reposted it everywhere. I'm going to do my best and we're going to record it and I'm going to put it, make sure it gets out there. If for some reason attendance is not as good as I would like it to be. So full disclosure.
Those things happen all the time, believe me.
It seems to happen to me a lot. I don't know, the Zoom thing, you miss one character and the whole thing goes bad.
I got in, FYI, I got in using the meeting ID and passcode that on your last message.
Great. Well, maybe there won't be a problem then.
Yeah.
I was told it didn't work and that the people couldn't get in and they tried to, oh, here's Jarrett, tried to, whatever. So we will do our best. Hello, Councilmember Smith.
How's everyone doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm
Good,
doing
how are
well.
We're talking Dewey Decimal System all day.
Oh,
Absolutely.
wow, that's a throwback.
I have been, hours of library research. I'm so ridiculously, I lived in the library as a kid. Every week.
That's great.
Mhm.
Oh, I love the backdrop, AJ.
Thank you. That's not my house, just so we're clear.
It's pretty cool.
You can tell my hair's like vibrating. I'm like, I'm disappearing. I'm so ridiculously thrilled to talk about library stuff. I can't wait till I can walk in again and, run through the stacks and chase teenagers out of the back of the rows. And
There you go.
Oh, we've all done that.
I've walked back there and I'm like, oh, sorry. Oh my goodness. And what else? The new section is the only thing I seem to be reading these days.
Yeah.
So did everyone have a nice holiday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As nice as possible, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
How about you, Jared?
Yeah, how about you?
I tried to not do anything, watch TV, Netflix. It's just, it's a very unique time.
Yes, it
certainly
really
is.
is.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you see all these stories like in the Washington Post or New York Times, how people just run outside without their mask for an errand. And then all of a sudden they come down with COVID.
Yeah.
So, the best thing I've always told everybody is if you can stay home, stay home.
Yeah,
right.
definitely. Yeah.
Good idea.
I'm doing a lot of that.
And then there's this whole belief out there that it's not real. I mean,
It's just crazy.
I mean, how many people have to die before people accept that this is like a real threat?
Yep.
Yeah, it's very
That's
frightening.
crazy.
Just the
It is
attitude.
frightening. Yeah, it's very scary.
That wearing a mask becomes political. That's just so odd. And then the insurrection,
Thing, yeah.
of course, I mean, you thought everything, you thought you had seen it all.
Yeah,
That
right,
2021
no, that's true.
was going to
Yep.
be normal, right?
Yep.
Then you have an
Not
insurrection.
quite. Hey, Kyle.
Good evening, Jarrett.
Hey, how are you?
There you
I'm
go.
doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I like the
Good.
background.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, it's a nice transformative library behind me here.
Yes, I see.
Nice.
Well, I apologize a couple of minutes late here, but thank you all for letting me join here this community forum. Some interesting topics here. I had a chance to speak with Ellen and Karen the other day about remote lockers and the library itself here. Joining me today is also one of my sales engineer, Dan Magnuson. I believe he's
Okay.
somewhere in the mix of people
I see.
here giving a wave.
All right, Kyle, we're gonna give it a couple more minutes and then we'll start.
Okay.
And you'll be first up.
Okay.
Talk about, give an overview of what you guys can offer. And then this is great. We have some representatives from the city, IT department, the library, and they can also talk about some of the technology that we can consider as a council.
Okay, wonderful.
Hi, Nick.
Hi, Ellen. How are you?
Nick is our technical services coordinator from the library.
Hi,
And
Nick. Good to see you.
Hi, Jarrett. How are you?
I'm doing well.
You're looking good.
Oh, well, thank you. I thought I better put on a tie, right?
Oh, wow.
Did you have a good holiday, Nick?
Yes, I did. I had a death in the family, but
Oh, sorry to hear that.
yeah, but now the holidays went well.
AJ, do we have any more people in the waiting room or?
No,
Okay.
no, there seemed to have been some trouble with the link. Some people had reported have trouble registering, getting in. So I don't know what happened. I thought I had a bad link, but maybe I didn't. And well, here we are. I've reposted everywhere that the meeting's starting, and we'll record it and we'll make sure we get the video out.
All right.
That's good.
Well, I just want to start off by saying my name is Jarrett Smith, council member here in Tacoma Park. I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. This conversation, this discussion is about broadening the library services in the city. As many of you know, the library will probably be under renovation soon. I mean, we haven't, the council hasn't, completely signed off on everything, but it looks like that is the direction that we're going. So for at least a couple of years, we will not have a library. I think it is important. I think it's critical for many parts of the community to still be able to access library-like services, books, media. During the pandemic, we have seen that it's really difficult for young people to do remote learning, right? And so I almost look at this as a supplemental, right? How do we, as a community, make sure that these young people have everything that they need to be successful? And one critical point of that is the library, right? Growing up, when I was a kid, my mom would always make sure we went to the library. And living in Hawaii on Schofield Barracks, they had a mobile book library thing that would drive around the community. So, this is great types of services. Tacoma Park, we are separated by different wards, right? Ward 5, some people could say, is very different from wards 1 or 2. But I don't think that should separate us from something as important as access to the library. And what does the library even mean anymore? I mean, it's not just a building, or it's not just the stacks inside that building. With technology, we can make it, I think, even better, bigger, and give people to access to things that they never even considered. So we have AJ, who helped me organize this event. We talked to some vendors that provide technology. One of them is Biblioteca. Their rep, Kyle, he is here with us, and he's gonna say a few remarks. We also have representatives from the library system with our current director, Ellen, who will be retiring soon. Thank you, Ellen, for all your service. And we have the guru of our IT department, Lars. We can't do anything in the city when it comes to technology without Lars. So it's great that you were able to join us. So I'm gonna throw it over to AJ if she would like to, set the ground rules and give some announcements before we start, and then we'll have Kyle and his team give an overview.
Thank you. So as Councilmember Smith said, we are redoing the library. Obviously, this on top of the pandemic is causing disruption in how keeping the doors of the library open. The first idea that I had was to use a digital locker in the same way that every supermarket now has an Amazon digital locker. Why can't we use this for books? And it's quite common these days. They're not particularly expensive. It is a bit of an investment, but if we're putting $9 million into a library, I think we can afford to spend a little bit on keeping it accessible, and keeping it 24-hour accessible too. The idea is that you would come up to the library, say it's a different part of the community center, you swipe your library card and or type in your library card number, and the locker would open, you would retrieve your books, and there's usually a book deposit right near there too. So it changes the interaction between the patron and the library to extend it, so that you're not limited to the times that the library is open. and that we could have units deployed in the rec center in Ward 5, maybe at the new Washington Adventist campus. Along with that, I have designs on having a bookmobile for Tacoma Park. Not a ginormous RV, $200,000 unit. That's not what we're going to have. But there are options, and I want to start to have these kind of discussions. And then beyond that, the hotspot lending and the tablet lending program are real passion projects of mine, and I really feel very strongly that we could accomplish this. And clearly some of the early research shows that we can. So that's where I am starting off. I want this to be an open and frank discussion. We want to find solutions and find ways around. We don't limit our thoughts. Don't say, oh, we can't afford it, we can't make this happen. Start from what do the patrons need, and how can we make it better, and how can we reach people? We can find the money. We found the money for other things. We can find the money for this. I'm willing to fight. I'm willing to stalk our council members to get money. I'm willing to write grant applications. Whatever it is, I will make sure it happens. But we have to agree what we want first.
Thank you, AJ. You want to say anything about questions in the chat box, or?
Yeah, if you want to ask questions in the chat box, but we have a pretty small audience today, so I think we could probably just turn on your video and ask questions at the appropriate time. And if there's a problem, I'll let people know.
Okay, great.
Kyle, why don't you start?
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you all for letting myself and Dan join the community forum this evening. Sounds like a really great opportunity. Engaging in conversation here with Councilmember Smith here the last week or so, and then having a meeting with the library, Ellen and Karen as well, learning about this opportunity and learning kind of what the vision of the library is, and growing it and moving it forward. I definitely can hone on Councilmember Smith's remarks here of, what is a library these days? And I get asked that all the time, is what is the library these days? And everybody outside of the library in the community might just think about it being a place where people can go reserve books or go check out books. Well, it's much more than that. It's a place where people can call home. It's a second location where people can have comfort in the community, interact with one another, do homework, find a job. It's really more of a community engaging space. So, the growth of a library is critical. And I think you guys are all in the community, having a great idea and concept of, integrating these different ways of accessing the library, not only during this renovation, but beyond that. So a little bit about Biblioteca. Biblioteca has been in business here for about 50 years now. We have 17 offices globally. We partner with 30,000 libraries in 70 countries. We have 2 offices here in the States, 1 in Canada. About 5-6 years ago, Biblioteca merged with 3M. So a lot of our employees here in North America are longtime 3M library system employees. So a lot of knowledge between 2 companies combined into one. Really had to evolve and adapt and create changes in the technology in the library space. Our products and solutions are really, designed to, connect, engage, and evolve, the user, the library staff, and the physical library itself. We want to create that connection within a community and have them engage in coming into the space, but outside of the space as well. Having a remote locker system is, this conversation is kind of geared towards having that access outside of the library walls in the different parts of the community. In addition to that, we have e-content, e-reads is a big popular item, kind of to AJ's point, it's just, having a bookmobile. Well, everything is becoming digital. So e-content is kind of a popular thing, especially with COVID and everyone being at home, having the ability to find books in a collection digitally in that aspect there. Other products and solutions that we have are, extending library hours once a renovation is complete. We have the ability to open the access beyond, a 9 to 5 library hours, staffed hours, for people that can't make those library hours during those key times. Whether they want to access it after work later, have that access to the library space while being secured. We have security detection products. We have self-service solutions in the library space, so self-check kiosks and mobile checkout. So the sky is the limit with Biblioteca, and we're always transforming and evolving our products, our services, our software, and we're willing to work with communities like yourselves to find what is the best fit and what is the best approach for what you guys are trying to achieve.
Montgomery County Public Library, I don't know if you sold them their system, but they have a self-checkout system, do they not?
I personally don't know if they do or not. Myself, I apologize, I should kind of key back here. I handle the small to medium libraries as well as the academics there in the Northeast. If it's a bigger library system, we have a field rep that handles those bigger library systems. But, I assume they probably do of some sort, whether it's Bibliotecas or another manufacturers. But, I can't speak on that specific library. But self-check is a great option as well too in the library space.
Well, as we talk about redoing the library, and one of the things to consider is how people interact with the checkout space, how much space is available for stacks, how much space is available for desks, lounge, and it seems to me that thinking about it ahead of time can influence the amount of space available. Do any of the librarians have any ideas about what I'm talking about, the self-checkout kiosks?
Sure. Ellen, do you want to go or do you want me to?
Well, I'm not sure what exists in Montgomery County. I know that they are available in many libraries and could conceivably be in our library, but we haven't done research on that. We're just not to that point in terms of the new library. Was that your question? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's very similar to like a supermarket checkout, only smaller.
Yeah,
smaller,
I know what it's like, and it's it's been spoken of before. Right now, we're focused on the costs and design for the new library building, so we haven't gotten into that level of planning or costing out.
Well, again, when you start thinking about how people are interacting with the space, it changes. Making those kind of decisions early on can really affect the architecture because you can change it.
Of course.
Yes. Mr. Fisher? You're on mute.
Yeah.
Mr. Fisher, you're on mute.
Okay, that's,
Soto?
hi. Talking with an architect is the integral part of what Luke Meyer is doing right now with the library and designing that kind of space. So that decision for those things are under consideration and will be developed. I kind of got the impression from this that the focus of this discussion was on what we could do now in terms of COVID rather than blue sky future of the library.
Is that a blue sky thing? I don't know. I
Well-
think if COVID is COVID is a concern, obviously it's not over, but as we move to the longer issue of the renovation, I mean, that is, and how it's going to look, I think it does make sense to think about it.
Yeah, in that context of designing that space when it's being designed, I think it's important in terms of what we can do for the next 6 to 12 months, which is my understanding we were discussing now.
No, I don't think I put that limitation on it.
Oh, okay, but the thing that you mentioned before about the lockers would be an interim project.
No, I was planning on keeping them.
Well, that's a question. That's a question. Would it be possible to have a limited time for lock boxes? Do you know? Would 3M do that?
I think the idea was in part to extend library services beyond the physical library, whether it's now or later or during construction, just to provide more library services in some of the more distant wards and give people. I mean, we have books to go now, and we're going to have very limited book delivery, but you could conceivably do more if you had the funding for say, lockers in Ward 5 or 6 or at the recreation center. I think it was certainly the focus of the investigation we did.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, guys. I was texting with the residents over at Essex House. I think that, there's nothing wrong with broadening the conversation, like Ms. Campbell has said, but we do want to see how we can, right now, provide some type of library services, access to the stacks in wards 5 and 6. What would that cost? What type of build out specs Biblioteca would need? And then later we can talk about what would it look like using tablets or other devices, and even hotspots for residents, because there's still a lot of residents in our community that do not have reliable high-speed internet service. So Kyle, can you talk about what would it take if we said, hey, we want to, not a huge locker system, but if we wanted to do something in the next 90 days in 2 parts of the city, what kind of cost that would be, and what would you guys need to go forward with something like that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can reel back to Mr. Fisher, and that's, the accessibility is the biggest key, especially with these remote lockers, and the emphasis of this meeting is the ability to place these lockers within the community, within 2 wards, 5 and 6, and give those members the ability to still access the library, especially right now with it being closed, if there's no plans to reopen it. Still gives them the ability to check out books in a hold and secured place. And then beyond that, it would still be a viable solution for accessibility. Again, kind of to my previous point there, when the library does reopen, having those hours are limited for certain people, commuters, people traveling in and out, whereas a hold locker system, that can be a 24-hour accessible solution, beyond this 6 to 12 month renovation period, however long it might be. As far as costs go, I did supply Ellen and Karen some preliminary pricing. Our most common right now, our most common locker system is a 3-tower system. A 3-tower system would include the central tower. That's our main housing tower, where it has the screen where a patron would begin the checkout process, and then 2 additional towers with lockers in it. We have very customizable options as far as towers go, with different size lockers, whether you want smaller lockers for more lockers within a tower, you want standard sizes, you want large lockers, depending on what you're trying to achieve. And also we have the ability with one of the towers to include and incorporate an integrated return system, which, I mentioned to Karen and Ellen, would probably be the most viable solution if there's no, physical building for a patron to return the books to, right back to the physical library space, or right there at the kiosk to have it secured. So no one could, no worries about theft, someone returning a book, it's locked, it's secured. So as far as cost preliminary pricing goes, it's high level right now budgetary for a 3-locker system, and our proposal that I generated all put together is about $40,000 a locker system.
Okay, that sounds reasonable. Now, what about service of the system? Do you train the librarians and they service it, or does your organization service the actual system once it's installed?
Are you
Yeah.
talking about servicing, like servicing
Software, you mean?
software wise, or are you talking about servicing for, or like say if there's vandalism on the unit, or are we talking about servicing it as in like loading the locker with books and that kind of thing?
Loading the locker on the books, and of course the software updates.
You mean you mean loading the catalog? You don't mean putting the books in the boxes, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
Someone has to do that. That's going to be
Yeah.
bad.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is certainly a new job, essentially. I assume in the same way that Books to Go is a new staffing
Sure.
task.
Right.
So we have some questions coming in. Seth wanted to say that this is what I see most needed in the near term, a system to extend books to go to Ward 5 and 6 locations. So Seth, by that, do you meant the lockers or the delivery system?
Yeah,
itself?
that would mean that you don't have to have staff assigned to the location to hand out the books and all of that kind of stuff. All the books could be dropped off, whether it's twice a week, 3 times a week, 5 times a week at the remote location. And at the same time, the staff member who drops off the books, puts them in the lockers, picks up books that have been returned.
That is exactly it, Seth. That's exactly kind of the workflow process. Yes, it is an extension of the library. It does still need to be, loaded. Obviously, once the patron reserves, a specific item, let's say Harry Potter's and the Sorcerer's Stone, if the staff member is going to, tie that, begin that process by tying that book through the ILS system, as Dan pointed out in the chat. To validate the patron in the transaction, and then the librarian or whoever it may be would then go load it into the locker system assigned to that patron's account.
And the system automatically sends an access code to the patron, who then uses the access code to retrieve the books. Once the patron has retrieved the books, the locker is available for use for the next patron. Correct?
Essentially, it's going to be very similar to what you actually do with it when you do a checkout. You pick an item up on hold. Basically, the remote locker actually does connect back to your ILS. So you basically have to allow an outside connection to come in and communicate with your ILS. When your patron comes up to the remote locker, what will happen is that they will actually present their library card. That library card then gets authenticated against the ILS. And then at that point in time, the remote locker says, you have items in lockers 1, 2, and 3 that you need to collect at that point. And then you basically select those lockers. You press open, the doors open, you collect your items, close the doors, and then your transaction is completed at that point. So basically what's happening, you're essentially doing an extension of what you're already doing at the library, but in this case, you're just doing a remote pickup location for all intents and purposes.
Mr. Fisher wanted to ask what kind of security these lockers need. Do they need to be secured in an interior location?
Yeah, so
like behind doors?
Well, they can, depending upon where they're located, we don't say stick them outside like a red box for like movies and that kind of stuff. They do have to be inside from those purposes, but we have them. Sometimes they'll be in a hallway of a community center. They'll be in a grocery store, for example. They'll be sitting in just past the checkout things, but they don't necessarily need to be secured so much per se. Some libraries may choose to do that, but you can provide access to the facilities, or you may partner with a local community center where they have 24-hour access or something to that effect, where there's card entry, those kind of things.
Okay. Anna asked, can we fix the current system of borrowing books? Well, the website is confusing. It is confusing. And it seems that the COA catalog system should allow for reserving books. That's a big question. Is there a plan to upgrade the ILS system, or?
Well, it's not a function of the ILS system, but we're in the process of enabling people to reserve books. Karen, have we done that already?
We haven't started. It's just, I think we've just started this week on without, much fanfare, I think, because we're trying to make sure that the staffers who are going to be doing this know what they're doing. It's a little complicated. So anyway, yeah, but it is something that we are doing, and we'll be putting out more information about it.
And Kyle, doesn't Biblioteca sell a COTS system?
Like an ILS, you're saying?
Yeah, they sell a reserving system, don't they?
We don't sell an ILS per se.
We have an ILS. We have an ILS, and
Yeah,
reserves can be built into that.
Okay.
Yeah, we interface with any ILS out there. Anything that uses SIP, which there's 200 something different ILSs globally. And
Right.
we interface that using the SIP protocols, and so that's a standardized protocol for communicating back and forth with
Understood.
our hardware and the respective softwares.
Sure.
So this is Anna. I just wanted to jump in about the Koha catalog and my confusion with it. When you go on the website right now, there's actually a little video that tells you how easy it is to use the Koha catalog. And on that video, you can see that you can search for books, you can reserve books, you can, there's a whole bunch of functionality associated with that. None of that functionality seems to be active at the moment. So that's the main reason I brought that up, but also two sources of confusion and frustration. That it would be great if there were a phone number where you could leave a message. The main phone number says, please don't leave a message. And on the primary page of the library, the email address was for Ellen.
Right.
And I got a bounce back today saying that that email address is not valid. So, I mean, those seem like very fundamental and simple things that should be able to be fixed. So I just wanted to ask about that.
Well, the Koha system is pretty widely used, so I'd need to know exactly what your particular concerns are. As far as we aren't able to accept phone calls, but phone calls are referred to me, and I get a number of them, and I respond in terms of what the issue is. It often is a card that's not working, or someone wants a new card, or they want to become a new patron, and I deal with those inquiries.
So you can leave a message? I'm sorry, you can leave a message then?
No, you have to email me, and I will
Okay.
refer it or take care of it.
Yeah, so that's what I did, and I got a bounce back 5 days later saying that email address was not valid.
Oh, what email address did you?
It was Ellen R. at,
TacomaParkMD.gov.
yes, that's correct. Yeah.
I don't know what the problem was. I'm sorry about that. I get those emails all
You
the
do get
time.
them. Okay,
That
maybe
is my
that was
email address.
just a glitch then.
Okay. Well, you guys, we should probably move on. We're only about, we have much more to talk about and only a half hour to do it in.
Okay. AJ, thank you. So let's talk to Lars and Nick. Let them give their presentations about some of the technology that we could roll out immediately for residents.
Okay. Did you want to talk, Nick?
Sure. So we know there have been concerns, there have been suggestions about hotspots and about Chromebooks. And so we looked at libraries that are currently doing those, and there are several. So we were able to go see what some of them are doing. The hotspots, they are like in a box, and there's internet access, which is wired in. And we found that for it to work, we found that it's about $50 per month per item. And depending on how many we want, we can always go that route. But not everybody who has a hotspot has a computer. So we thought about Chromebooks, and the reason why we thought about Chromebooks is some people were suggesting pads. With the pad, it is difficult for elderly patrons to use because there are no keyboards. But with Chromebooks, you can search, you can view video, and you can save your work on a flash drive. So it's just like a regular computer, except you don't technically own it. So we saw that it's about between $160 and about $350 or so per item for those. So some libraries check out the two items together. Some check out just what you need. Either you check out the Chromebook, or you check out the hotspot. If you don't have internet access at home, or if you have a slow access, you can check out the two. So our idea is to have people do them individually, but they have the option to check out both.
And can we put this technology in the lockers? Does that work?
It is possible, yes.
Okay.
It's possible to put that in the locker if we eventually have the locker system.
Okay, Go
It
ahead.
will just check out as books as well.
Okay. All right. Excellent. And
The one thing I would just caution with that is that, especially for something that will be sitting in a locker for a period of time, there is no charging capability within a locker. So if you are expecting a fully charged unit that's been sitting for 7 days, there may be some loss of charge over time with that. So
Good point.
In addition to that, Dan, too, another point for the, a laptop lending service, if you will, and using the lockers is keeping in mind of the space. They are designed for books, so, you can't have an oversized laptop, in there as well. So, that is something to think about too.
okay. Good.
the lockers will come in different sizes. So you get like a narrow locker, a medium locker, and then kind of a tall locker for like large objects. And some libraries will use those for like kids' toy bags, for example. They'll store the toy bags in those larger lockers. So just to sort of think about what your use case scenarios would be when if you're considering the lockers and how you want to configure the lockers as you go with it as well.
The libraries that we looked at, most of them, in fact, all of them, they required people to come and pick up their computers. So you hand them in to somebody who is, at the library or outside the library. He checks it in, and if you pick it up from another person who is working at the library. We don't encourage people to return those items inside the book drop, because of course, if you drop it in there, a book comes in and gets, they could be damaged. So that's what the libraries are doing. But in terms of putting them inside lockers, it is something that I'm sure we would be willing to look at.
Yeah, I would caution that, again, with the tower that has the book drop option, I would not suggest using the book drop option for returns. The lockers themselves are configured for check out, but not necessarily to place returned items back in the locker. The workflow is such that it actually returns. There's a separate return bin for items to be returned.
Okay.
Councilmember Smith, we have a new program that's coming online, hopefully very soon in Tacoma Park, for low-cost, high-speed internet access. And with that, the purchase of a laptop. Plus, we also have eventually, when we finally get back into the new community center, brand spanking new community center, we'll still have many, many computers there, desktop computers, the Mac Lab. My initial thought was that tablets would have been more useful and certainly way less expensive. Since if there's damage, it's unlikely that would be recoverable. So given that context, is the idea still to go with the Chromebooks?
Yeah, I think so. And Nick, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the idea is that there's a keyboard right there, and research has shown that tablets are hard for many people to use, seniors and others. You'd have to have maybe attach a keyboard or something to it for some people. So it's easier and overall, I think, less expensive to go with the Chromebooks. Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The idea of the accessory idea being lost, I think Karen and I were speaking of that before we signed on. We have when we check out a laptop or a hotspot, there's cables that go with it, charging cables, for example. So that would probably be the most likely thing to experience loss rather than the keyboard, which is sort of semi-attached in the case that we would be sending out with it. Does that make any sense?
I think the keyboards we are looking at attached, permanently attached to, they are like just a small computer. It's not a detachable. We are not looking at detachable devices. And then you have, of course, the charging cable, which is not very expensive. But what we also saw what libraries do. If you lose it, since it is not too expensive, of course, they charge you for the cost of the item.
Yeah.
I think it's also a way of encouraging patrons to look out for the items at the checkout.
Right. I think that we would put them in a bag, everything would be together in some kind of, bag or
Carry
something
out.
like that. Yeah, carry out. Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. And that was $50 a month for including the data service fee?
No, yeah, yes, that's the hotspot. It's
Mhm.
about $50 per item per month. But the Chromebook, of course, is not $50. You have to buy the Chromebook, and then you can check it out together with the hotspot.
And what's
The price of the Chromebook varies.
right? What kind of loss breakage do other libraries tend to experience? 10, 20%, 30? What is it? Do we know?
We did not look at that, but we intend to. Our suggestion is, if we're buying those things, we buy some kind of warranty,
Mhm.
up to 2 years, and some of those warranties cover breakages.
Okay, good. So do you have an estimate on the number of Chromebooks, hotspots we could start out with sometime in the next 2 quarters?
We looked at having 10 and having 20.
Okay.
And if the total cost of a Chromebook is, say, $350, and you get 10, then you're looking at 350 times 12 for a year. And if you add on top of that $50 for the hotspot, and you buy 10 of those, you're also looking at $50 times per month, times 10 of them, times for the year.
And we have to purchase the Chromebooks. We can't lease them from a company.
No, I didn't see a company that leases them.
Okay. All right. Well, it would be helpful if you could put together the costs for the council to consider. Karen, would you like to add anything about some of the technological options that you and your staff are considering?
I would just say that I don't think there's money in the budget currently for this.
No. But we are having priorities. Council priorities start Saturday.
Okay.
The retreat starts Saturday.
Okay. So, yeah, I wanted to make sure that the timeline.
Yes.
I actually had a question. Are you looking at next year's, like the fiscal year?
Well,
okay.
let me just say this.
Okay.
We are going to move forward with the library, it looks like, right?
Mhm.
Council is going to have a retreat Saturday. This is something that is important to me. This is something that I'm going to bring up.
Okay.
So, if we move money around in the current fiscal year, that's a possibility. I don't know.
Mhm.
But I want to present this to my colleagues so that the discussions can start.
Right. Okay. I guess I
We
would.
won't have a library. I mean, and we need to.
We need to make some changes, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we won't have a building. I hate to add, we do have a library. We're alive and well. But I do think that if you might think about starting, with something like that, the hotspots and the Chromebooks, and then maybe also looking at the digital lockers, as sort of another type of investment. I don't know, Kyle, did you mention that it's possible to do to lease the lockers, or?
Yeah, no, absolutely. In my information that I provided you guys, yes, that's a great point, Karen. We do offer a all-inclusive leasing program. We partner with a company called Hitachi Capital. So instead of a cost of, as I mentioned, the budgetary pricing is about $40,000 for a 3-tower locker system. We have the ability to work with Hitachi and do a lease option. So all-inclusive option would include, the tower, the service agreement, the software associated with it over the course of a couple-year term agreement. So that would help with annual budgets, spreading the payment out over the course of a couple years versus finding money if you wanted 2 or 3 locker systems, at $120,000. Yes, it does cost money to incorporate these things, but that is an option too, to kind of spread those costs over a term of a couple of years, and then having, the software and service agreements all included in that price as well.
Okay.
So if I may just add something, when we did our costing, we for 10 Chromebooks, between the less expensive and the more expensive. The less expensive was going to cost about 2,500, and the more expensive one, that's for 10. The more expensive one was going to cost about 3,900 for a year. If you wanted for 2 years, we just multiply by 2.
Okay. All right, good. Lars, you did mention in the information that I got about a Wi-Fi trailer. Can you just briefly, because we're at 7:15, just mention that, what is included in that system, how we can push out potentially Wi-Fi to different parts of the community that may not have it or may have difficulty accessing?
Right. That's it's a trailer that was developed by SAIC. It was developed for the military and is being repurposed for COVID, support within cities. I think Orange County, California has deployed several of them. And basically what it is it's a trailer with an extendable boom up to 30 feet. With an antenna on it for providing Wi-Fi coverage. The unit is powered. It can be towed behind a vehicle, so it could be moved from location to location. And it's powered by either a generator, an onboard gas generator, if it's a temporary location that you need Wi-Fi, or it can be then hooked up to the to your electrical provider, so Pepco, Echelon. And the way that the internet gets the uplink, so people will be connecting to that trailer for Wi-Fi purposes, but to get back to the internet, you can hardwire it with a connection, say a cable modem, T1 line, whatever type of connection that you have there, or you can do a dual wireless SIM solution. So you can bond to 4G connections to it. It's supposed to support about 130 users. It's not going to be the fastest thing in the world, but it's something good to be used in a pinch if you need to provide resident access, maybe if there's a temporary location for the library. It could also be used by the police department for putting up cameras where they need to have cameras set up, say at a temporary location, things like that. So
and can CARES money be used for any of this?
Yes, there has been 6 different programs, including CARES, that are supposed to be eligible. I don't know how the grant process works for those, for reimbursement, but there have been cities that have used it with CARES.
And have cities used CARES for the hotspots?
No, I asked that. They said no. That was Verizon Wireless, but and we do get a pretty good deal actually through Verizon Wireless in the city. We're on a GSA contract, which helps to keep the costs down. Also the contract terms, we can break contract whenever we want on any devices, which is a nice feature. And but the price that Nick gave you of about $50 includes a couple of different pieces that go into the puzzle of actually lending out a hotspot and making sure that you can manage that, track the hotspot in case it's not returned, turn it off remotely, manage the data usage, and then also the security aspects of protecting the end user based on what the profile is for usage. So you may not want, kids out there at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning if it's specifically geared for educational purposes. Or
okay.
Yeah.
Good. Go ahead,
Jarrett, if you don't mind me interrupting here. You mentioned CARES Act too. that has been used, the CARES funding has been used for library technology as well. So we've had library customers apply for that CARES grant to use towards products like remote locker and other services that we provide.
And they were successful in getting the grants?
Yep, absolutely. Yep, we've had plenty of orders here at the end of the year with CARES Act, and then they extended it here. So we have more coming.
Okay, that's great.
Hello, Biblio. That's wonderful.
That's something we could pursue. All right, it's 7:20. Council's about to start. I would like to thank everyone for joining us this evening. The staff was great. You guys put together this package on an FAQ on some of the things that we talked about today. I will talk to my colleagues on Saturday about some of these options. AJ, thank you for helping to organize this. Karen, Lars, Nick, Kyle, everybody, I appreciate you being here. Residents, I can't see everybody on the screen, so I'm sorry if I didn't mention your name, but I want to thank everybody. And this is a good start, but my priority is getting library services into other parts of the community that may not have access, or access is difficult.
Mhm.
So I want to figure out, how do we fix it? All right, thanks guys. I'll
All right.
see you later. Have a wonderful evening.
Okay.
If,
all right.
if anybody wants to see
you.
pretty bookmobile pictures, hang around for a second.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
But
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
So the idea behind the bookmobile idea is that not the ginormous RV that people usually have in their minds. We're not big enough to warrant any craziness like that, or the budget for that. There's two general options. So this is what people usually think of when they think of a bookmobile. This, you know, ginormous Class A. Forget that. That's not happening. But if you look at like what Kenosha had, it's essentially just a Sprinter van. See if I can move this around so I can look at it. And it has a lift on the back of it, or a ramp, depending. And these trolleys are moved outside the vehicle, so the patrons don't go inside of it.
Oh.
It changes the dynamic dramatically, because once you bring patrons in, you have to have accessibility, wheelchair, you know, all that, and it makes it a much more expensive proposition. Any van fitted with any Sprinter van that we purchase could be outfitted with either a standard wheelchair lift or a ramp, depending on the height of the vehicle. There are very low level ramps, and then these pop out, and then they would just roll out when you get to location.
So these are for books delivery?
They use it as a full mobile library, actually. So when you get to the location, you lower the lift, roll the trolleys out, and then the patrons walk up and browse through the trolley of books rather than entering the
Oh,
book.
I see.
Mm.
Okay, I get it. So it's like a reduced browsing space.
Yeah.
It can also be used for pickups, drop-offs, obviously. Another sort of less expensive idea is to take a converted wheelchair Sprinter van and do the same thing with the trolleys. And those are not expensive at all. Even a 1 or 2 year old fitted van can be had for around 30 or 40,000.
Wow. Interesting.
Certainly not a lot of money.
Is that used or new?
A couple of years old for that,
Okay,
but still
okay.
low mileage. If, for example, let me see if I have this right. Like this sort of thing. A lot of them are really low, and so the ramp is teeny tiny. It is very small. It's not like you're hauling it a very heavy trolley. Certainly people in wheelchairs come out, and even this one, a brand new one, is only 56,000. And that's brand new, obviously. But there's certainly other ones that could be had for a lot less. Well, it's not brand new. It has 17,000. So, but still, and it drives just like a regular truck, like a U-Haul. You know, you don't have to any special, whatever it is, a backup camera. And so we would just remove these the seats, and then they would become the trolleys, the trolley for the books.
But then you have to go back in there and do some shelving space like I saw in the other one.
Yeah, you'd have to. It would have the interior would have to be updated, but
And
it's
then,
not.
And then you have to get out that window that I saw in the other one. Okay.
I mean, it's not without its difficulties, and there's certainly outfitters, and we can talk about it, but we have to sort of want to do it, and then we can go fight for the money for it. If we think it's useful. I mean, we all can sit here and say, okay, what could we do with a bookmobile? Story time, you know, in location works at apartment buildings. We all love the ideas. You know, we could wrap it with some beautiful Tacoma Park artwork. You know, it could also be a way, if we take it to the senior center, park it in front of the senior center, and have them come, and we can help them with their tablets or Chromebooks or whatever it is they're going to use.
Yep.
These things cost money, but we are spending an awful lot of money on the library, and I can't imagine that level of commitment doesn't translate into, can I have some more money for a bookmobile, and can I have some more money for tablets and lending, and you know.
Okay.
Right, understood.
Yeah.
But if we do want to fight for the Class A, I am right there.
Sure.
DC Public Library had at one point a ginormous Class A RV that they spent a ridiculous amount of money on. And then they only parked it at festivals, and then they parked it right outside the library. I have no idea why.
Ridiculous.
I know. Well, there's certainly occasional grant money comes up, and I mean, I would really think that given say our library is broken up into two parts for the duration during the rebuild, since we're not even sure where we're going to be, like the bookmobile could be very useful in going back and forth for stocking the remote lockers, which is clear we all adore. You know, maybe is there a way for you guys to come back and tell us what you want, and you know, sort of based on everything we discussed, like point us in a direction, you know.
Well, we'll definitely talk. Yeah. And it just as a very little footnote to all this, we will be starting soon. I don't know if you heard, Ellen, the book delivery for city residents. It's limited. It's going to be limited, but it'll be, you know, many days of the week it will be done. So
limited in what way?
Limited because by the amount of time the staffer has to deliver the books. So and it's for, you know, for people who really can't get to the library for the most part, but you know, anyway, we're working on that. That's, you know, it's not quite finalized yet, but that's something that's coming up. So a little bit of a footnote in terms of delivering books.
Well, so it seems we are getting a bookmobile. It's just really small.
Yeah.
Really
exactly.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. And we're just at 7:30. So I appreciate everything. And I'm a massive book lover, you know, and I miss the library every single day since it's been closed.
I can tell.
You miss our page. So
yeah, I am a book a week reader, and it's been maddening not having access. And I know there's pickup and drop off, and I just haven't been able to get into the groove of it. I don't know why. I don't have a really good reason.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we just expanded our hours, so we have many more hours.
Yeah.
Pick up. So maybe it will work.
All right, I will give it a shot.
Well,
Still not
thank
the
you.
same thing. All right,
All right.
take care, guys. Thank you so
All right.
much.
Okay, take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay.